river to stop us.
Okay, for the movie I did Speed 2 Cruise Control, and I am trying to prove that the characters Alex and Enrique there's not enough force for them to actually fly through the windshield. So to start off, I'm going to be using 3 different equations. The change in velocity equals velocity final minus velocity initial, the change in momentum, and the impulse equation. And I gathered some information first. I figured out that the boat and its change in velocity, the velocity final was 2.6 meters per second, and the velocity initial was 3.1 meters per second, and you subtract those to find the change in velocity, and I got negative 0.5 meters per second. I found Alex's mass and Enrique's mass. So Alex was 94.3 kilograms and Enrique was 86.2 kilograms. I'm going to be finding the change in momentum for both of them. So change in momentum equals the change in velocity times their mass. And the change in velocity was negative 0.5 meters per second, and Alex's mass was 94.3 kilograms. The change in momentum for him was negative 47.15 kilograms times mass over seconds. I'm going to be using the same equation for Enrique. The same change in velocity, which was negative 0.5 meters per second, times his mass, which was 86.2 kilograms. His change in momentum was negative 43.1 kilograms times mass over seconds. Both of them were in contact with the windshield for 0.9 seconds. I'm going to be using now the impulse equation to figure out the amount of newtons used. So Alex would be change in time equals change in velocity times mass. So I'm going to be using 0.9 seconds, and his change in momentum, which was negative 47.15 kilograms times mass over seconds. You would divide over the 0.9 seconds to get negative 52.4 newtons. You would do the same for Enrique. Use the same equation. Use the same 0.9 seconds times his change in momentum, which is negative 43.1 kilograms times mass over seconds. You would do the same by dividing the 0.9 seconds over, and his would be negative 47.8 newtons. I found during a study that the change in velocity to make you excel through the windshield would have to be 13.41 meters per second. I figured out that the change in velocity of the boat was negative 0.5 meters per second, which would hardly be noticeable in the 13.1 meters per second. I also figured out that the amount of mass also has to do with the impulse and impact on the windshield and Alex and Enrique. I also found that the force net has to equal over 1,000 pounds to excel through the windshield, and I found that Alex's was 52.4 and Enrique's was 47.8 newtons, which would still not make it possible for them to fly through the windshield.